Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I just come from my Kundalini yoga session. I don't know if you've ever done Kundalini yoga, but it's quite liberating, I find. It also really depends on what practitioner you're doing it with, but it felt today really uplifting and liberating to me, and it made me see the different layers that we put on ourselves of conditioning. It's not something you do consciously, that you put something on yourself to protect yourself or to, yeah, everything is protection that we put on ourselves. Sometimes it's to enhance, sometimes it's to, sort of like make ourselves smaller. And sometimes it's simply just to hide or not be seen in order to stay safe. And in the session today, I just felt like how I was sitting in my soul and seeing like the curtains, those layers on the outside of conditioning. And when I speak about conditioning, I mean conditioning is like, in German, Konditionierung. It's like a program. Like when you have a laptop, there's a software on it. Yeah, so you can imagine you are the laptop. The laptop is the hardware. You are the laptop. You are the body, or you have the body. And the software on the laptop, the operation system, that you have as well, which is made up of your belief system. And your belief system carries emotionality and meaning. So often when we are children, we see the world in black and white. So we cannot differentiate nuances. We don't see nuance. Like, for example, and I'm giving like a super traditional old school feedback, but if one of your parents wasn't at home much because they were out working a lot and maybe sometimes were working in other countries or whatever, then you may have picked up that, oh, one of my parents is never home, so they must not love me, or they must have abandoned me, or I'm not good enough, so they don't even care to be here. That is the black and white thinking of children. Now, sometimes when we have siblings, they may feel completely different than we do about our childhood, because we all have a different perspective. We all have different levels of sensitivity, different levels of perception, and different things that we perceive. Yeah. So as we have those different lenses, maybe your siblings didn't feel like, oh, I was abandoned. No. Maybe they were just like, oh, I know that they love me, but maybe they felt something else, like, I'm not seen because I have 3 brothers and sisters, and they are so active and loud, and I'm sensitive and introvert. Yeah, I'm just giving you a few examples so you understand what I mean. So we see the world in those different lenses. And based on our lenses and our perception, especially as children, what we pick up, we think the world is for us or against us, black or white. And as children, it's very normal to be egoistic and more self-centered, because imagine you are helpless without parents or caretakers that provide shelter, food, all those life-giving core needs. And one of them is also emotional intelligence or emotional support. And sometimes our parents haven't learned what, for themselves. Oops, sorry, my bag. Sometimes our parents haven't learned from their parents, what emotional availability even is, or what it feels like. In the generations before us, imagine there was the Industrial Revolution where people actually learned to be more robotic in a way, more logic driven. Oh, there's a little doggy, if you were wondering who that is in the background. More logic driven, more repetition of no, Marty, no, it's not for you. Sorry. More logic driven, more, starting repetitive cycles, being efficient. So we were basically conditioned, programmed. The software in our heart, on our computer, on our hardware, on our body hardware was updated towards efficiency, logic, like repetition, and all those kind of things. So we were taken away more and more from connecting to our heart, slowness, being more, like cherishing the processes with our hands. Baking bread was suddenly done with machinery instead of our hands and at home. Like jobs changed, and that's how our brains and our behavior changed also, right? Like from cherishing the day and maybe living more in the countryside, we started living in cities and lost more and more touch from our nature. Nature is our nature as well. So from the rhythms of nature, from the yin and the yang, from even seasons, because houses were created with insulation and with electricity and everything. So think about how your conditioning, your behavior, and all these kind of things has changed over the decades. And if you're saying now, like, yeah, but I haven't lived back then. Yes, but your parents and their parents and their parents have. And this is forwarded in your DNA. And if you heard about epigenetics, this is like basically the science of our environment and how we pick up certain traits and certain behaviors and conditioning from our environment. That we are so exposed to media, like centralized media, and certain standards in society. So we take those ideas over until we decide, wait, is this really what I want, what I deserve, what I envision, what I dream of, for my life? Does that feel right to who I am? Who am I? And that's what a lot of people also call awakening. When you actually snap out of, let's call it the mass programming or the collective narrative, and you start getting curious of like, oh, are there other options for me? Is this what I want? And that doesn't always need to be negative. That can come from a loving place, that can come from curiosity and care for yourself and others. And I know there are so many conspiracy theories and all these kind of things out there, but how about we just take this aside for a moment and also take aside like the conditioning that is given through society, and you get to just allow yourself, to look at the curtains around you that you installed in your system, knowingly or unknowingly. Often we don't do this knowingly, we don't do this consciously. It happens subconsciously, especially while we are growing up, while we are children. That is why it's so powerful when you're an adult to check in with yourself and ask yourself, wait, what of the things that I learned and picked up do actually resonate with who I am today? And which of the things don't? So we get to discern truth from I don't want to call it lie, but truth from what doesn't feel right or true for us. And that is a very individual journey. Yeah, there's not one truth. Again, we all have different filters, we all have different perspectives. The only way that we can know that it is true for you, for us, is by getting in touch with your intuition, with your body wisdom, and with your personal logic. Yeah, I'm not saying don't use your mind. I'm not saying don't use your heart. I'm saying start bringing those two into relationship. Because when we balance the relationship between mind and heart, this is very healthy and a good process for us humans. Because, and this is also something that I felt in my Kundalini practice today, if we are only in the mind and making all the decisions from the mind, we are making decisions from fear. We are making decisions from force, and we possibly make decisions from a conditioned place. So when I say from a conditioned place, I mean from a learned, from a place that is based on our subconscious beliefs. Now, we don't always know what our subconscious beliefs are. If you say, oh, I have a hard time making money, if you say, I have a hard time finding a partner who can give me what I need, or who stays with me, or who doesn't cheat, or I have a hard time finding my purpose, or I have a hard time liking myself. All those things that you struggle with on the surface, like my diet sucks, or I don't move enough, or I don't have friends, all these problems are valid, but they are surface level. Because the reason that you feel that way has a deeper rooted issue, often, not always, but often originated in your childhood. Why? Because this is the biggest amount of time when your belief system is created. This is the time when your beliefs are being installed into your system. You could also say, if you're a techie or if you know your way around technology, this is when your belief system has been encoded within you, when the software was written from scratch. And that is really powerful, because as children, we are not as self-aware as we can be as adults. Because as adults, we have a bigger capacity, our brain is fully developed, and we have a bigger capacity to see nuances, change perspective, and also show compassion for ourselves and others. Yeah, because we are able to step into different perspectives. Now, if we stay in the consciousness of our inner child, of our childhood self, then we are staying in that conditioned state, and we're making decisions from that conditioning, which possibly means from wounding and from limiting beliefs, from lies, from wrong beliefs. I'm not saying all that you believe is a lie, it's not true. No pun intended. But it is to be questioned. It is to be checked in with as an adult, to understand, all right, what are my issues? Let's write them down. And what is the common denominator? What is the root of these different narratives? Is there a common thing? And sometimes the common thing goes all the way down to, I'm not lovable, I'm not beautiful, I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, I'm not capable, all these kind of different root beliefs, core wounds. Yeah. And once we work on them to process the held emotions and the wounding around it, and integrate and take action in our favor that is not based on the wounding. So that may mean saying no to things or saying yes to things or taking a leap for yourself on your own behalf. This is how we change the belief. And I had one of my clients ask me last week, oh, I read this book about changing, about your inner child and changing your beliefs, but I couldn't really get to change my beliefs. And the reason is because when you read, you're using your prefrontal cortex, you're using your logical mind. That means you're capable of reading the words, understanding what you read, in some cases stay, with the ideas of it, but you're missing the important part of processing that, what you read, within your system, viscerally. You can also call it somatically. So in your cells, in your body, literally in your nervous system that is connected throughout all your body. That's why it's so interconnected with your body wisdom. Your nervous system holds all the information, all the experiences you've ever lived through, good or challenging, easier or challenging. And so you have the archive, basically, of what you experienced still sitting in your body. That's why it's so important not just to logically understand what happened to me, but then also process through the body. And there is no first and second. We don't always need to understand where something comes from to process it, because the wisdom, the realization will come afterwards. Yeah, so sometimes it's if you say oh, my shoulder hurts already for 3 days or for a year or for 2 years, often we would feel often for me that's a sign with clients. Obviously I would ask them questions and go into detail with them, but often that's for me a sign that you carry the world on your shoulders and that you feel responsible for everything and everybody, and that you may be inclined to people please and overwork and have a hard time receiving but an easy time giving, and that you may be exhausted from how you've been living your life like that, because maybe in childhood you learned it, and to some degree you're not good enough, or you are not welcome, or you're not loved the way you are. And that may bring some people to try to be loved through action, through doing. You deserve love and attention and support and what else? All the good things. You deserve them simply by being yourself, and not through having to do and give and get better all the time. You know what I mean? But our parents and their parents or caregivers or whoever you grew up with taught us what they learned. So, they're just forwarding their conditioning until somebody starts to uncover those conditions and get to the depth of who we really are, of who you really are, of who I really am, and so on. And the people who do that work, they are breaking generational trauma, and they are breaking generational limiting patterns. And that's why, dear friends, it is so important to do this work. I hope what I talked about today makes sense for you. I really wanted to share that process one more time quite logically. So if there's any question or anything you didn't understand about it, let me know in the comments below, and I'm happy to answer you. Let me know how it is for you to reprogram your mind. Is that easy? Is that hard? Do you want me to talk about that more? Because there's so much more to talk about. And like I said, my client had a hard time with the book, but I showed her then how to get into the body and process in the body. And she made leaps after that, because this is where the shift happens, and it happens often fast, not always, but we think we need to use our mind to get ahead and keep in control and push and reach our goals. But when you start working with the body and processing your held emotions and trauma and whatever limiting beliefs and patterns you carry, game changer. Absolute game changer. So if you want to learn more about that, let me know. I'm happy to share more. Or if you're looking for somebody to work with one-on-one or in groups, get in touch. All the links are below. If you like this video, leave me a thumbs up. That always helps to create more videos and also support more people, have a wider connection to more people. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. If you know somebody who would feel supported by this video, please do share. And I see you in another video. Thank you so much for watching, for tuning in. All my love to you. Ciao.